LSU is coming off of a devastating homecoming loss after paying Troy $985,000 to play them. But now they're hoping to go into the swamp for the Florida homecoming and cause some disruption. Fun fact for you though, the last couple times Florida has played LSU for homecoming, most notably in 1996 and 2006, Florida gained their first 2 national championships in football.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. At this point, it seems as though Ed Orgeron is really coaching for his life. Somehow he was able to win the head coaching job after being the interim head coach last year, after Les Miles left, and it'll be really interesting to see if he's able to rally the troops and really get his team ready for a tough Florida defense. And according to last week, a pretty decent Florida offense, evidently.
Yeah, and then as far as that goes too, they're coming into a tough 4 weeks. They play Auburn the next week, and then they have Ole Miss, then they have Alabama. So they better get their stuff together now so that they're prepared for that stretch.
Yeah, that's going to be a really tough stretch. That's a tough stretch for anyone to play.
And as far as the Florida strengths goes, unfortunately last week this wasn't necessarily the story, but they have an elite defense. They let their guard down on Vanderbilt. There was no way they should have gotten 24 points, but it is what it is. Anyway, they do create a lot of turnovers, and we saw that in the first 2-3 games, and I think they'll still continue to. They just had some stagnant performance last week, and they were on the field a lot, and you could definitely tell they were looking gassed. But another interesting fact about the Florida offense is they now, after last game, have gotten the longest score streak, tied with Michigan, for 365 consecutive games.
Yeah, that's definitely a very impressive streak, and with the much improved rushing offense, and hopefully with Felipe Franks starting at quarterback again, they'll be able to continue that streak. And it seems as though Florida's defense, there's a good chance that they'll be able to score for them too with a lot of the turnovers that they produce. Some of LSU's strengths is their defense statistically looks better on paper, allowing both less rushing yards and less passing yards per game, and naturally less overall yards per game. That's really the only strength for LSU.
Well, there's a lot of weaknesses to talk about. Their strength of schedule for one, but then losing to Troy last week in Baton Rouge, and also losing to Mississippi State the week before. And not just losing, but getting rolled over by Mississippi State. And offensively, the O-line is going to be missing Darius Geis, who is pivotal in this offense.
Florida is not without its weaknesses either, though. Once again, the first 3 games, he did lose his starting job. I'm assuming he lost his starting job for a few reasons. So now having him back in, we'll have to see if he gets more motivated and keeps performing up to the same standard that he was able to be during the Vanderbilt game. Florida's just Tyree Cleveland will also not suit up, so one of his leading receiving targets, and especially a big deep threat to stretch that field with the hopefully revamped Florida running offense. They're going to face a lot of 8 and 9 man boxes without Tyree Cleveland in. And as Janae's mentioned last week, Florida's defense really did not show up much against Vanderbilt last week, so it'll be extremely interesting to see if they can turn things around and have another great game against LSU in the swamp.
Well, if Tyree Cleveland was not hurt this week, I would say he'd be my key player going into the game. He's proven as a great replacement for Antonio Callaway in light of all those suspensions. But instead, I'm going to go with running back Malik Davis, who has 319 total rushing yards at 7.4 yards per carry with 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, he has made some rookie mistakes, like fumbling in the end zone 2 games ago, but he's cleaning it up, and I think he's been a lot better.
Another very interesting player to watch is LSU's Danny Etling. He's currently completed 62 of his 102 passing attempts, which is nothing super special, but for LSU, who's never been known for their strong quarterback play, it's above average. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to get the offense going at all. Against Troy, their offense struggled. Against Mississippi State, as we mentioned earlier, their offense also struggled. Even against teams who have not just garbage defenses, their offense has really struggled. So it'll be really pivotal on him. He currently has 921 passing yards and 5 passing touchdowns. And he's been splitting a little bit of time with one of their true freshman quarterbacks as well. So it'll be interesting to see. According to Ed Orgeron, he will be the sole player and sole starter for this game and for the rest of the season in SEC play.
Florida is going to take the win here. They've done it before in the past. LSU just hasn't looked their best these last 2 weeks. And I think the defense is hopefully going to show up this time. And hopefully both sides of the ball for Florida, offense and defense, will finally get together and perform a cohesive game together.
Definitely. And as a lot of coaches always preach, Florida has some of the best special teams in the entire country. I also agree that Florida's going to win. For me, in the Swamp, it's a tough place to play. I've been to a couple games there. It's loud. It gets ruckus during homecoming. Everyone's going to be excited, the players included. I think it's just going to be too tough for LSU to overcome, just too much. My score prediction for the game is 17-14 Florida.
Thanks for watching Red Zone to EndZone. I'm Janae Muchmore, joined by special guest
Griffin Parkrose.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The social links are below. And be sure to check out our other games this week on the right-hand side of your screen. Have a great night.
Have a good night, guys.